Back to a live edition of Buckeye Talk. I am Stephen Means, and that is Stefan Krajisnik. Ohio State plays Ohio later on tonight. It's on Peacock, which you have to pay for, unfortunately. So we decided to give you 15 minutes of Ohio State football talk. You don't have to pay for it, though. If you want to pay for some Ohio State football talk, get the text 614-350-3315. Even that, though, there's a 2-week free trial. So we're already better than Peacock because we have a 2-week free trial. It's $3.99 after that, but 2 weeks of freedom in your phone. You don't got to go search for it. You can get it right to your phone. Obviously, every morning, if you're on our YouTube channel by Buckeye Talk, just go find that on YouTube. You'll see we do a thing called Game Time Decisions, where we talk about one thing we want to see in this specific game that matters. Typically, it'll decide who wins the game, but obviously, given who Ohio State's been playing the last 2 weeks, we're not necessarily sure it's going to decide who wins the game, but it is something you want to learn about the Ohio State football team. We're adding something extra to that this week where we're going live before the game. We're going to try to go in this window between when college game day starts and then that hour where they're just doing stories and stuff, where maybe you check out a little bit, because at 11 o'clock, we all understand that you guys are going to check right back into college game day to see what the picks and big noon kickoff. Though I do wonder, Stefan, if in a world where Lee Corso no longer exists on television, he is alive. We saw him. He was up in the press box with us. But in a world where Lee Corso is no longer on television doing the headgear, I do wonder, do you care more or less or about the same about the game picks at the end of college game day, big noon kickoff, and all those other things?
The picks specifically, probably less. I do still enjoy the pregame show, specifically game day, and kind of some of the stories they do and things of that nature. But not having the Lee Corso headgear pick at the end it's been a weird adjustment, right? Like you're tuning in and just seeing who everyone's picking, but there's no big theatrics. Although Reese Davis did tell us that they are not going to let anyone else come on that show and start doing headgear picks. Like that is Corso's thing. So I am happy that it's that way. But it is definitely a weird adjustment.
I think Pat McAfee, how he's always singing the songs of every college that he goes to, I think that's
Mhm.
going to become the new norm. And I do wonder if that means they start spreading out where they go, because that's cool. That'll become a cool thing of, oh yeah, Pat McAfee singing along with us as we sing our school song. He has to, which means he's going to come back to Columbus and sing that camp song, isn't he? That's going to get oh. I take
We'll
that
see.
back. I take back what I said. Let's not sing the song. I don't. Have you heard the song? Because I don't think the last 2 weeks I've tried to pay attention to when the song gets played. Have you noticed it so far?
Yeah, I have. I like the song, but it's very chill and like tamed, and it doesn't
Yeah.
really it doesn't really get a crowd going. I guess I'd love to know, like, fans in the stands, have you noticed when it's on and when they've tried to do it? I don't know, but I am interested in seeing the helmet stripe theme today. I think that's going to be, if Ohio State's not giving out free shirts, that's going to be a challenge, because that's a lot of coordination going on, especially in the student section. But that said, I have seen a good amount of people on social media, sharing the kind of the chart of what section is supposed to wear what color shirt. Like
Yeah.
I think people are making a push for this to happen. Obviously, places like Penn State's probably the best when it comes to these coordinations and things of that nature. Although I think their number one coordination is, hey, everyone just wear white and
Yeah.
not. But they did the game we went to last year was a helmet stripe game for Penn State, and there were two sections that had to wear blue and remember to do that. So, and they did a good job of it. So I think this is going to be a challenge for Buckeye fans, especially the student section, of fulfilling this helmet stripe theme. I think that's maybe one of the first things I'll be watching for on tonight, I guess.
It's always interesting when you're trying to introduce new traditions, right? Because if you're not used to it, so you automatically just sort of, no, I hate this. I hate this. So I'll give the Camp Ohio song time to get right. I think this tonight, 7 o'clock, is either going to go very, very well, and it's going to look awesome, or it's going to look awful. There's no in between here. There's not going to be like, I sort of see a helmet. I sort of see the stripe. It's going to go really well, or it's going to go very, very poorly. We're here, so we're going to hang out a little bit. And one of our, somebody in the chat, I lost it, asked about the UCLA game last night. Stefan, we're talking about this before we went live, and both of us came to the same conclusion of how wrong we have been about the idea of UCLA. We didn't think that they were going to compete for a Big Ten title, but we did think it would make that game later on this season a little bit more interesting and give it some juice. There will be no juice. There will be no juice. My thoughts are, remember, guys, money isn't everything. Always remember that. That's not why we're here, though. We're here to talk about Ohio State versus Ohio tonight. And the theme of this live podcast,
Is Ohio better than UCLA?
yes, I would take Parker Navarro and the Bobcats
I
over
mean, yeah, you look at what New
Nico and
Mexico just did
UCLA.
against. Like, I think Ohio's better than New Mexico.
Ohio has a Power 4 win. Can UCLA say that? So I'm all for it. I to get into what the theme of this pod is going to be, it's just something that we maybe haven't talked about nearly as much this week that we think constitutes as a successful outing if Ohio State does this. And it can be anything under the sun. Obviously, a win. Yes, if you win the football game, then that is a success. But something that is success because it matters for when they start Big Ten play in 2 weeks when they get back on the field. Stefan, you first. What is they have to do this for today to be considered a success?
You know, there's a lot of areas we've spent a lot of time talking about the running game and about defending Parker Navarro and his running game. But I think one area that I think is I'm going to keep a close eye on is it's clear that there's kind of a trajectory of how Max Clare's time at Ohio State is going to go. And, you know, Ryan Day kind of gave us a bit of a reminder of like, hey, this guy went from Purdue to Ohio State. Like that is a big adjustment to make, even when he was here in the spring. So I think going into this game, we have not seen a ton of Max Clare. I think he's got 2 catches for like 18 yards or something like that this season. Like they're going to put more and more on his plate. The same way we talked about Julian saying of, after the Texas game, okay, put more on his plate. Now after the Grambling State game, put more on his plate. Ryan Day was talking about that on his radio show, putting more on Julian's plate this week. Like that goes for Max Clare as well. And the way that he's used in this offense and the different roles, that he can provide. We've seen him already move around a bit. Like we've seen him line up in the slot. We've seen him use inline tight end and things of that nature. And I know so much of the focus this week and in this game is on Will Kazmarek. And Steven, you wrote an awesome story leading into this game at cleveland.com about Will Kazmarek and kind of, nobody wanted him out of high school. And now he's, one of the best tight ends in the country, especially Keenan Bailey calls him the best blocking tight end in the country. But we've seen the receiving attack as well. So much focus is on him because he's finally getting a chance to play against Ohio again. But a big storyline, I think, in this is how much more Max Clare do we see? How much more comfortable does Max Clare look in this offense as they go into, another matchup here and then the bye week and then Big Ten plays right around the corner. So I'm keeping an eye on Max Clare. And it's funny because you and I have both been in the boat, in the offseason when people were putting really high expectations on what Max Clare was going to do. We were saying, yes, we agree, but we're also a bit reserved in kind of some of the statistics that we want to put on him because Ohio State's tight ends, it's hard to get, more than 35 receptions based on what we've seen in the Ryan Day era. That said, we thought that Max Clare was going to have a big role in this offense. We thought all the tight ends were going to have big roles in this offense because they do play a lot of tight ends. However, I think we thought it was going to be a lot of Max Clare and not as much Will Kazmarek, and it's been the opposite. It's been a lot of Will Kazmarek, and Max Clare still kind of coming along. So let's see where he is, how he's progressed, now in his third game with Ohio State, because I think that's going to tell us a lot about where he fits in this offense going into Big Ten play.
So I'll talk about Parker Navarro because I don't think we can talk about it enough because there's just so much that he's going to teach us about this defense in terms of how it handles some of these things. Parker Navarro against Rutgers, 9 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. Against West Virginia, 18 carries for 87 yards. No touchdown and a little harder of a fight, obviously, to get those yards. Overall, this year, he has 27 carries. 11 of them have come on scrambles for 122 scramble yards. On the design runs, that's the other 16 runs. It's 68 yards. I think they need to keep Parker Navarro under 50 yards rushing today, whether it's design runs or scrambles. And it's because there are some guys who can scoot a little bit on the Big Ten schedule this year. I'm not afraid of his arm, but if they're letting Parker Navarro get loose defensively, the defense hasn't really been challenged yet, right? They played a young quarterback in Arch Manning who missed a lot of throws. The defense was awesome. I'm not taking away from the defense, but also Arch Manning missed a few easy ones that maybe changed the trajectory of that game. And then we just weren't going to learn about the defense last week. This is the first time we get to see Okay, a decent opponent who's got 2 games of film on Matt Patricia's defense. What happens, right? How often are we seeing, you eked out an 8-play, 4-minute drive because Parker Navarro on 3rd and 5 should have gotten off of the field, but somebody got undisciplined, somebody didn't keep their gap integrity, or he just makes a play, and now all of a sudden Ohio's back on the field. We need to see Ohio State's offense as much as humanly possible today. And that happens by getting off the field on 3rd down and getting 3 and out after 3 and out and after 3 and out. And when you have a quarterback who can make a little bit shake with his legs like that, it can throw a wrench in those plans. And if I'm OU, yes, you want to come out here and you want to throw punches, but you also have to be smart about it. You can't try to out tempo Ohio State, because then Ohio State's just going to pull out that gun, and it's a lot bigger than Ohio's gun when it comes to playing tempo. That's just the fact of the matter. But I would like to see Julian Sand and Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith and James Peoples and Bo Jackson and CJ Donaldson and the rest of this list as much as humanly possible, because after this, it's real. We think maybe Ohio State's a super team. We'll find that out in 2 weeks. But after this is real, right? After this, we're not seeing tinker. We're seeing let's go win a football game and let's start building on that identity. So, but it starts on defense. I think Matt Patricia is right now the apple of everybody's eye because of what he did to Arch Manning. And now he gets another quarterback to try to do that again. And it's not going to stamp it 100%, right? But it's, if you are 65% in on Matt Patricia as a dude, as a defensive coordinator in college football, I think you can jump to like 85 after this game, simply because Ohio is a very good football team. And also it's a team that has film on them. Anything else? We're trying to make these 15 to 20 minutes. We don't want to go too long, though. A lot of our texts are 614-350-3315. Keep telling us, no, go long all the time. So I guess, is there anything that's happened in the college football world before we get out of here that you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, a couple of things. I'll start off with we've gotten a few comments about special teams. We actually have a bold prediction that Brandon Ennis is going to, Jacob in the comments, that Brandon Ennis is going to return a punt and almost break one for a touchdown. Okay. I think the Ennis returns a punt. We can start there as maybe a bit of a bold prediction. But no, I think that is another area where, in theory, if everything goes as planned today, Ohio State's punt return unit is going to be out there quite a bit. And let's see, how they've made progress after a not great outing against Grambling State. And yeah, like you were saying, Chris Signetti had a great line yesterday. They beat Indiana State like 73-0, an FCS team, mm-hmm. And he was talking about how that they put up a great fight, but we just had more bullets in the chamber. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what some of these games turn into. And that's what Ohio State has. You talk about bigger gun. Well, their gun also has more bullets. So, around the college football world, we had someone ask us what game we'll be watching outside Ohio State, and there's this weird thing going on where Ohio State's playing a night game, Steven. So I think you and I we're gonna get to watch some college football games during the day. Yeah, man. It's strange. Obviously, Tennessee Georgia is going to be an interesting game. Miami USF is that this week or next week? I might be blanking on that.
I think it's this week on the CW. The biggest game of the week is on the CW.
How about that? And then the game tonight, it sucks that it overlaps with Ohio State's game. But Notre Dame, Texas A&M, I think it's must-win territory for Notre Dame, because looking at their schedule, if they're 10-2, I'm not 100%. I think they would probably get in. I think a 10-2 Notre Dame probably gets in, but it's not like a schedule we're going to rack up a ton of great wins. Like USC is not a great win. So it's kind of must-win territory for Notre Dame. Which is crazy to think about, because 8 months ago they were playing for a national championship, and now it's like, hey, if you don't win on September 13th, you might not be in the college football playoff.
I don't hate it. The NFL, that happens sometimes, right? Where a team's in the Super Bowl and the next year they have a top 5 draft pick because they were horrid. 2 games for me: Wisconsin, Alabama. I don't get to watch noon games on television a lot because I cover this football team. I just want to. I don't know. We're gonna learn a lot about Alabama this week. I think we're gonna learn a little bit about Luke Fickell and with this Wisconsin team as well. But it does seem like coming into the season there was more pressure on Luke Fickell to show up in that game than Kalen DeBoer. And then Florida State happened. So now it feels like all the pressure is on an SEC school. And also, the Big Ten and the SEC are 1-1 against each other this year. This is the last time they'll play each other in the regular season. The Big Ten has a chance to get a win during the regular season in that series. Ohio State beat Texas at home. Oklahoma beat Michigan at home. So the home team has won every time. So that probably doesn't bode well for Wisconsin. But I do think there's a shock to the system going around the SEC right now, especially with Alabama. I mean, Luke Fickell, man, send the final blow. Send the final blow, man. Send the final blow. And then also the other game at noon, I get to watch so many noon games. There's some good games at noon, man, when you're not watching your own team play. Clemson and Georgia Tech. I picked Clemson to win the national title. I also picked Cade Klubnik to win the Heisman Trophy. I have been wrong about a lot of things very quickly since the start of this college football season. Someone even pointed out Kansas State. I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, listen, man, even JJ dropped some passes early on in this year, man. Everybody.
All right. You cannot compare yourself to Jeremiah Smith.
I do. Listen, I shoot high, man. I have high goals. I aim high every single time. I just want to see how shaky is Clemson. And I also think just Georgia Tech might be a little good. And that game is a sneaky pull upset for Georgia Tech because it's at Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech in big games likes to turn Haynes King into Tim Tebow. And so I'm excited to watch that as well. What time does the injury report come out? I think it's 4:30 or
5 p.m. today. Yeah, 5 p.m.
Okay. It's not like 5 p.m. We don't suspect anything crazy to be on that list, though. There's no reason to think that anybody new might show up. It should be fine. Someone else mentioned the fact that they think Julian Stan should play the entire game this week. I agree. I think if Lincoln Keenholz plays like the last series, fine. But this is the last time this team plays football before Big Ten play starts. So I think getting your starters out there and leaving them out there as much as possible. I agree. I think it was Sage said that. He said, I think Stan needs to play the entire game. No game next week in Washington. He needs the reps. I agree with that. I think that's it. I think this was fun. 15 to 20 minutes. What we're thinking.
A little Buckeye talk, cup of coffee. Get you going.
Yeah. A couple. Yeah. Listen, the real thing here is what we tried to do was we tried to do this for the Texas game. We tried to do a pregame live. We came up with this idea back in the spring, and which is why we did the live after the spring game, because we wanted to see if there was an appetite for it. We're like, oh, what if we went live pregame before the Texas game? Oh, wait, no, we cover Ohio State. They play their big games at noon. So, I don't know if you want. That's why we went live after the game. We'll probably do this again a couple of more times. The pregame show will definitely be going live for bigger games after the show. So Penn State, probably going to be a noon game. We'll go live. Michigan, we're definitely going to go live. And we'll try to sprinkle these in as much as possible because it does seem like there's an appetite for it. We'd love it to see it grow. So listen, continue to check in with our YouTube channel at Buckeye Talk, which you're on. So I don't know why I'm telling you that.
I like Buckeye Ryan, Buckeye Brews. I like that because we can also call the postgame show Buckeye Brews. Because if you're watching a postgame show, you can go ahead and crack open a beer. If you're watching a pregame show, you get yourself a cold brew coffee or something like that. So I like it. Buckeye Brews, very, very, very vast on what we can do with that.
We have a new venture. Last year it was about naming the Monday pod, and we finally found the name, and leave no doubt. And now the new venture is naming the live pods. Get the text 614-350-3315 and keep sending along those things. But keep sending along those ideas for names because I suck at naming things. Seriously, I suck at naming things. And also I have the YouTube up. There's an ad going on while we're also live. That's how you pay the bills. Anyway,
sure.
It's on Peacock. We tried to give you some content for free because you have to pay for Peacock. It's probably not going to be great, but it is what it is. Ohio State versus Ohio at 7 p.m. in Ohio Stadium on Peacock. Let us know what you think of the helmet stripe crowd feature that they tried to do. But regardless, get the text 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. For Stefan, I'm Steven. See you guys after the game.